this is Mike from Minimal 3DP, and today I want to talk about and do an unboxing of the BIQU H2 V2s extruder. So let's go ahead and get started. So I recently purchased this direct drive extruder from Temu, and as I outlined in a quick video I did the other day, was really pleased with the purchase. So you might want to check out Temu and take a look at the various deals they have, see if there's anything that would work for you. But I want to go ahead and do an unboxing and just take a quick look at the new extruder. So previously I had the BIQU H2 version 2, and I actually liked the extruder, but right in this area here, there's a grub screw inside. And unfortunately with that grub screw, you can actually see I've bent the heat brake here trying to get this out. That screw is real easy to become stripped. And based on its placement, I can't really get in there to get it out. And so this extruder basically went to the wayside. I don't want to say I threw it in the trash, but I haven't been able to use it since. Now I'm hoping that the H2 V2s will fix that problem. And as I mentioned, I really liked this extruder previously, so I'm hoping this one will take care of that shortfall. So let me go ahead and unbox this. I've received this extruder, and this is one I purchased. Nobody sent it to me. And I'm hoping, as I said, this addresses the shortfalls on the V2, which according to the reviews, it sort of looks like it does. Let me put aside the directions, throw away the trash here. And as with most BIQU items, it's really well packed. Packaging looks good. I like this much better than I like the old one. Everything feels like it's moving real well. I wonder what this is right here. I'll have to look that up. So let's put this here. And then see what else we have in the box. Thermistor. Oh, I'm sorry. Heating element. Thermistor. Fan shield. Up, BIQU rubber duct. Put that aside. Wires for the stepper motor. And then some spare parts and a piece of PTFE tubing. Okay. So looking at this, let's compare this to this. The H2 is smaller, actually significantly so. Let's do a quick weight check here. Move stuff around. So the old is 212 grams. The new is 179. And even with all the wires for the heating element and the thermistor, it's still 4 grams lighter. And if I go ahead and cut these down, I'm sure it's still going to be much lighter. So that's actually really good. So this is a much smaller extruder than the original. Now, it's still looking like we have the grub screws in here, so it remains to be seen if they're better. I'm not going to worry about it right now. Now, the heat block looks about the same, and I think I actually have several spares from the old one, so that's good as well. I also have several of the covers. One of the problems with the original V2 is these gears tended to bind up, and I had to work on it, take things apart, put it back together to get everything good. This one right out of the box, it appears to be flowing really smoothly. And I really like this new handle, which you flip it up and then just push it forward. This one's actually tension related, so you have to push this really hard, which I always didn't like when I had the hot end mounted because I was afraid I was going to break it off the bracket. So let me go ahead and put this one aside, and then we'll just look strictly at the V2s. So as I mentioned, I want to go ahead and install this extruder on my Mercury 1.1. In order to do that, I needed to look around and find a duct system. The one downfall of this extruder is it doesn't come with a duct, so I need to go ahead and find something that'll work. I also need a mount for the BL Touch. So let's take a look at what I found. So over on printables, I found the MAD, the modular air duct for the BIQU H2, and this checks all the boxes for me. If we look at the image on screen, there's a mount for a fan and a mount for a BL Touch. Also, if I scroll down and look at this, there is also an add-on and an adapter for the BIQU Hermit Crab, which I have as well, so I want to go ahead and use that. And then it has a tri-horn EVA style duct, which I like as well. I'm going to use a 50-15 fan on this. So as I said, I really like the look of this. And I also like the fact the BL Touch is in the front. So I'm going to go ahead, I've printed out all the parts for this, and I'm going to go ahead and put it together. Now the documentation for this duct system is actually pretty good. So I want to go ahead and just going to follow along with the instructions, mostly looking at the pictures too. So go ahead and put this piece on. I did want to do this all in black. I'm just going to be honest, I screwed up this piece, and so I had my printer that with the black on it was already printing something, and it was a longer print, and I just said, well, do it in yellow. I'm going to put 2 screws in the top here. Now, I did do threaded inserts, and I did those last night, and then let this cool, because I've had too much experience with threaded inserts where I try to screw something in while it's still sort of warm, and then the threaded inserts come undone and ruin my print. That feels good. Everything's still movable. And then where's the other piece? This is going to go something like this. Let's go ahead. Here's the duct system right here. I'm going to take this. I believe this needs to go down like this, down in this area. We'll go ahead and screw this in. Now, the one nice thing about this is there's some writing on this duct system, and I sort of like that because it lets me know which direction to orient things. So I'm back with my longer screws. It's oriented. It's all correct. Get this screwed in tight. It looks like we have a little bit of a gap here. Let's see if I can squeeze that together a little more. There's a little bit of a gap. I don't really think that's I'm gonna lose too much air here. It's not bad. So we'll just leave it as is. So that's looking okay. So we have that piece in, and then if I'm not mistaken, this is oriented like this. So this rides on the back here. That looks good. Let's get my screws here and I'll screw this part in. Now it looks like the maker of this has this oriented, so I can actually move that duct a little bit, and so it has some play here. I'll show you what I mean. You look, these holes have a little bit of play, so I can move things around. In fact, I think I want to move this up just a tiny little bit. Oh, now I'm going to move it down. So let's see if I can get this. It's all right. Now this does have a mount for the BIQU hermit crab, but I'm not sure I really need it. So we're going to sort of see, once I have this all screwed and put together, do I really think it's needed or not. This is my first time using this duct, and I have to say so far I'm really liking it. It is pretty modular and the pieces are well labeled, which I really like. Feels sort of sturdy. And the nozzle feels like it's touching without hitting the ground. Now, I probably should have inserted the thermistor in here. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll thermistor and the heater element. Now I don't have the ends on this yet because I want to see how everything looks once I have it set up. And I'll go ahead and put everything on. Go. That was pretty easy. Now I'm going to be honest, this is supposed to be printed in PETG. I went ahead and printed this in PLA Plus. I'm bad like that. My experience, PLA Plus tends to be good for the ducts as long as things aren't too close. None of this looks really close to me, so I think it'll be all right. And if it gets melty, I could always reprint the duct itself in PETG. Now let's just look at things. Now here's the plate for the hermit crab. And I can sort of tell what this is doing. It's going to mount like this. Mount like that. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is going to put the extruder, lower it a little bit. So let's go ahead and install this and just see what this looks like. Now, I think I'm one screw short. Let me grab another screw and I'll be right back. Now, I'm going to try a little bit longer screws here. Maybe too big. Try pushing this through. And let me find my other bit here, which I put down. There it is. Again, I won't cut that out either because I do fumble around a lot, which I'm embarrassed by, but it is what it is. Also, you may hear in the background, my dog has charged in the room again. No matter how many times I try to keep her downstairs, she always finds a way to come up here so she can lay on the floor while I'm recording. Let me undo this. Now you notice the back of this bridging's a little bad. According to the documentation, this duct system did need support. Now this isn't anything that's going to be visible when I'm printing, so I'm not really worried about the bridging. Let's get that through. Now, as far as I can tell, the extruder gets screwed into this plate, and then this plate goes here on the hermit crab. Just feel this. It feels all right. So let's go ahead and screw this in. Now, try to line this up. I'm going to be a little careful with this because I don't want to mess up these threaded inserts. Start with one, and then I'm going to do the opposite corner here. I'll get this screwed in. I think I'm going to have to tighten these screws a lot more. It just feels very loose. Now it's hard to do this because I got to tighten it, but then at the same time not tighten it enough where it tears apart the threaded inserts. I wasn't sure I needed this plate. It's given me maybe about 5 or 6 millimeters lower here than if I just put the extruder directly into the hermit crab plate. So that all looks good. Now I have the circuit board that goes in the back here. I'm going to wait to put that on until I have everything screwed in. That way I don't mess anything up. Now I want to mess up the electronics on the back of that little board. Now there's a little screws. Now I always get confused how I have to orient this fan, but I believe it needs to be oriented with the label pointed towards the inside here. And the label on the outside here. I'm just going to leave this cord as is. I'll wind up cutting that as soon as I get this all screwed in and then mounted on the hermit crab. Oh, it's looking really good. So let me switch over and let me get my fan, my 50-15 fan, and then I'll install that. Okay, so I have my 50-15 fan. I'm just going to screw this in here. I don't really need to screw this too tight. I just need this to hold in here. And this is another wire where I'm just going to wait till I have the little board installed. I'm just looking at this. Yeah, I'm going to orient this like this. And then let me go ahead and put the board back on. Last thing we need to install is the BL Touch. And I want to switch over and just take a look at the diagram and the drawing so we can see how this is supposed to look. So if we look, it looks like I have this oriented on the desk view correctly. So I'm just going to go with this. Let me see if my screws are long enough here. And they are. So switch bits. Now, this BL Touch doesn't adjust. So I'm assuming that this is basically one size fits all, which actually makes me happy. I always find that when I have to adjust the BL Touch, it's a pain for me to get it exactly situated correctly. Okay. That looks really good. And still move this. Let's get the BL Touch installed. I have to take that off of my old extruder. And then we'll get that installed as well. Now I have the BL Touch installed. One thing I don't like is this cord, the way it's running sort of across everything. So I may have to mess around with that, but I think for right now, I'm just going to leave it as is. Now, just looking at this, and let's go ahead. Back up there. Here's an extra grub screw, where actually there's 4 extra grub screws. So let me put those back in here. And here's a cord for that's for the extruder. Let's see. And I'll go ahead and find a thing to put in here to hold this in. Oh, wait a minute. Let me just try something here. That doesn't stick all the way in, so this does need to be in here. Put that in. So that's looking good. And let me go ahead and get a connector in there to hold that. So there's a nice touch here. This screw right in this area is for filament tightening and tension. So that's pretty good. Now, right now, I have this all installed and set up for the hermit crab. And I'm going to go ahead and install this on my printer. Now, I'm going to stop here. And I'll do a second video with this actually printing, because I'm going to have to spend at least a little bit of time getting this all configured with Clipper and all that good stuff. But for right now, everything's installed. Liking the extruder so far. Also loving this duct system. So I'm going to pause here, and then in a second video, we'll show it. I'll configure it for the printer, and then we'll do a test print. This is Mike from Minimal 3DP. I want to thank you for joining me today. Hopefully, if you have any questions or comments, you can post them below. Feel free to subscribe. You can also drop me an email at minimal3dp@gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks. Have a good day.